Welcome back to the Bulls franchise, and it's finally time for the first draft of our series. Season 1 was really fun as we started off as a really good team after we traded for Drew Holiday pre-season, but now it's time to make some changes as we bowed out of the playoffs in the second round, and it's clear that we're not going to be able to keep this team together for much longer. It was fun starting off as a pretty good team and making the playoffs in year one, but I'm also really excited to be able to steer this team toward the future a little bit. I think at this point a full rebuild is what the Bulls need to get where they truly need to be, and it all starts here. We need to hit on this draft pick. It's not going to be easy at number 29, but I do think this is a pretty deep draft where we can get someone who can be in our rotation for a while, pretty low down in the order. I showed last episode that we did indeed trade into the second round, so we will have 2 rookies next season. We traded Javon Carter for 2 second-round picks from the 76ers. But there were also 2 other major trade-ups that happened around the league. The Raptors are going to be bringing home the number 17 pick, and they're giving up quite a bit to do it. They're giving up Chris Boucher, Jalen McDaniels, and a few picks, including a 26 first-round lottery-protected pick and a 28 unprotected first-rounder. The Raptors initially didn't have a first-round pick in this draft, so they must have found someone that they really want at number 17. And the Spurs are going to add to their boatload of draft capital by trading down with the Memphis Grizzlies. They move up to number 19. Sending their own pick in this draft plus a 25 first-rounder lottery protected to the Spurs. I was shopping around Nikola Vucevic at the end of last episode, and the Knicks showed interest in him. They were willing to give up Mitchell Robinson, Dante DiVincenzo, and the number 23 pick in this draft, plus another top 3 protected pick in 2026. That's a pretty good haul, but initially they were asking for Ayo Dosunmu. That was a non-negotiable for them, but I managed to get it so that I could keep Ayo. However, we had to give up our number 29 pick to move up to number 23. This one really tempted me, and I sat in front of this screen for a while. However, I decided against it for a few key reasons. One, I don't feel like it's worth it to trade up in this draft. I feel like there are a lot of quality players that I could get at number 29, which is kind of crazy to say, but I have some real sleepers on my list. Second of all, with our messed up financial situation, the main reason I'd be trading these guys away is to dump salary, and this trade would actually be taking salary on. Dante DiVincenzo and Mitchell Robinson are both guys I'd be interested in having on the roster, but they're making a combined $26 million. That's more than Nikola Vucevic's salary of $20 million. And it's not even like $26 million for 2 players is even bad. Neither of those guys are overpaid, but I think that just goes to show how strapped for cash we are. But here's my draft board again. I showed you this last episode, but this kind of illustrates what I mean. Cody Williams, Tyrese Proctor, and Kyle Filipowski are definitely going earlier than 29. They are fringe lottery picks. But outside of that, we have a chance to get any of these guys. I mean, Baba Miller could fall to 29, Alex Sarr could fall to 29, and Donovan Clingan is definitely going to fall to 29. And he might be my favorite of all of these guys. I apologize for not showing the draft projections in this screenshot. This is an old screenshot. But Klingan's highest draft projection in any of the 3 mock drafts is 33. One of them has him going at number 57. This is a 7'2 center you're talking about who can run the floor like a gazelle and block shots like crazy. Are you kidding me at 33? I would say that Alex Sarr is probably the higher potential pick, as he could be a potential number 1 lockdown wing defender and then a devastating transition threat a la Giannis Antetokounmpo. Plus, he can pass really well for his size. And I think trading up to number 23 would probably give us a better chance at getting Sarr. but I don't know if I like him that much more than Klingon that I would trade up for him, because we're most likely going to have the chance at Klingon at 29. Baba Miller is a scouting profile that I finished really early on in the season. I mean, you see that skill set and that frame and you instantly think Kevin Durant. Not to mention, our scouts tell us he's a 75 overall, which is really good for that draft range. He has the highest draft projection of the three, but at the same time, I wasn't impressed with his potential when we scouted him. He kind of looked like a high floor, low ceiling type of player. Maybe if we were still planning on contending next year, I'd be more inclined to take him, but I'd rather go for someone who has more potential right now. It's really a toss-up how I rank those three. I really just have them ranked based on draft projection right here, so not really according to preference. If I had the choice of all three of those guys, I really have no idea who I'm taking. If I had to pick, I'd probably go Sar 1, Klingon 2, Miller 3. But don't forget about Khalil Ware either. Former Oregon Duck. He can also block shots with the best of them and also has a little bit of post-scoring potential and even occasionally can step out for a three-pointer. You could probably talk me into including him into the top 3, but at the end of the day, that top 4 is probably the only players I'm really considering seriously for number 29. Here's the rest of my draft board going all the way down to number 30, and I'd pretty much be happy with any of these guys in round 2. Well, at long last, it's finally time to begin the draft, and I'm going to go through all of these round 1 picks one by one just to build the suspense. Phoenix is on the clock first, and they go with Matas Bazelis. Wow, this is a shocker from the Suns. 6'10" out of the G League Ignite team. I actually really like this pick. I don't think 2K was really mocking him that high, more in the 5 to 10 range, but I think he could fit in really well with the Suns, especially with the mentorship from Kevin Durant. I think that's a really good place for Matas to go, and I think the team could make a big rebound after being the worst team in basketball a year ago. Hornets on the clock, and they go with DJ Wagner out of Kentucky, forming a dynamic backcourt with LaMelo Ball. I think him, LaMelo, and Brandon Miller could be a really good young core to pay attention to going forward. The projected number 1 pick, Isaiah Collier, falls to number 3. The Wizards get him, hoping to hit on a point guard selection after really missing with Johnny Davis. And the Miami Heat indeed take Bronny James, number 4. So Bronny won't be playing with his father, but he'll be playing against him on his former team. So Eric Spoelstra is going to get to coach both generations of James. And the Spurs take another French player in Zachary Rizache. It's going to be interesting how the team builds around Victor Wembanyama. Rizache hails from the same league as Wemby, and he can shoot lights out at 6'8". Ron Holland, the slashing forward from the Ignite team, goes to the Timberwolves. And then the Thunder take a center in Xavier Booker out of Michigan State. After all these top picks, we'll see if the Thunder are ready to contend next year. The Jazz take a sharp-shooting 6'7" small forward in Justin Edwards. And the Pistons also take a small forward in Mackenzie Mgbako. The Blazers take another guard. Tyrese Proctor is going to be headed to Portland. I don't know about this pick. With all the guards they have, reminder, they have Lonzo Ball. I don't know how Proctor's going to get playing time. I really like his offensive game, though. Aaron Bradshaw, the center out of Kentucky, heads to the New Orleans Pelicans. And then this blockbuster trade happened. Oh my goodness. The Bucks are going to trade the number 12 pick away, as well as Brook Lopez, and in return, they get Jimmy Butler. I have no idea how this trade works financially. I mean, that's about $70 million in salary coming in. But I had financial trade rules on, and this still happened. The Bucks are not playing around, not trying to waste Dame and Giannis's prime years. And they honestly really didn't have to give up that much to get Jimmy Butler and a pretty solid role player in Duncan Robinson. So the Heat trade away Jimmy, and they embrace the rebuild, and they just took what I believe might be the best player in the draft. Cody Williams falls to them at number 12. He may not be the best, but I think he has the chance to be. The brother of Jalen Williams of the Thunder is going to be a key player for the Heat going forward. The Rockets take Kyle Filipowski out of Duke. I like that pick for them. A potential front court mate with Alperen Şengün. Stephon Castle out of UConn goes to the 76ers. The Thunder get another talented guard in Terrence Arsenault out of Houston. And the Pistons take 7'3" Adai Mara to be a potential pick-and-roll mate with Cade Cunningham. The Raptors, after trading into the first round, go with point guard Judah Mintz out of Syracuse. And with their second pick of the first round, the Blazers pick Ryan Dunn from Virginia. 6'9" shooting guard Trenton Flowers out of Louisville goes to the Grizzlies. And the Denver Nuggets get another polished scorer in Jacoby Walter from Baylor. The Jazz are going to take a chance on the athletic freak point guard A.J. Johnson, who boosted his stock after an impressive draft combine. So none of our top three have been taken yet in Sarr, Clingan, and Miller. The Hawks take a versatile wing in Kwame Evans Jr. out of Oregon. And the Knicks take 6'5" shooting guard Freddie DeLeon. And then the Pacers go with the Spanish big man, Isan Almansa. So with 4 more picks until we're on the clock, Miller, Sarr, and Clingan are still there for the taking. And so is Kel'el Ware. He's still on the board. And the Spurs use their second pick on Aiden Mahaney from St. Mary's. The Celtics take Trevon Brazile, 6'10" power forward from Arkansas. And finally, one of our top targets is taken. Alex Sarr goes to the Cleveland Cavaliers. And boy, if he develops, that is a scary defensive team. Pairing him with Evan Mobley, my goodness. I love this pick for the Cavs because they already like to play a big lineup. They could play him at the 3 if they wanted to. But that doesn't bode well for the Bulls, as the player we wanted is going to go to one of our biggest rivals. And with the last pick before us, the Pelicans pick London Johnson from the G League Ignite team. Finally, we can make our first draft pick of the series, and 3 of our top 4 guys are still available. Miller, Clingan, Ware. Who do we go with? Miller has the highest overall, highest draft rank, but based on my scouting, he might have the lowest potential. I think he could be a good player, but I want to stick to my plan of taking a center in this draft. I am just too enticed with that B- athleticism and B- perimeter defense for the 7'2" Donovan Clingan. That mobility is just salivating to me. The switchability too, and it's only going to get better with time. The game gives you 2 conflicting potential ratings in the scouting process, and at least one of them for Clingan is a B. Obviously, that's not superstar potential, but I am not complaining at number 29. I don't think he's necessarily going to be the main star of our franchise, but he could be a key member of the supporting cast. Ware is a solid prospect in himself. Only a C perimeter defense, though. His athleticism does beat out Clingan's, but he is 2 inches shorter and a whole lot lighter. And then the potential, even though it's conflicting, on the player cards it says his is a B-, which is lower than Clingan's. The only thing that made me second guess myself was the fact that Ware was ranked number 27 on the big board and Clingan was ranked number 54. Maybe the game was trying to nudge me in the right direction there, but it could also be nudging me in the wrong one. So I'm trusting my gut here. I've eyed Clingan from the get-go, and I'm going to go with him. With the 29th pick in the 2024 NBA Draft, the Chicago Bulls select Donovan Clingan, center out of UConn. Zach Harper agrees with the pick, and he says that Clingan was underrated by the media. And then the very next pick, Kel'el Ware gets picked by the Boston Celtics. Look at that. We'll see who ends up having the better career out of the two. We've skipped all the way to our second round draft pick, number 49, and the best player available looks to be undoubtedly Mark Mitchell, the 6'8" power forward from Duke. Looks like he can do pretty much everything solid except shoot the three. He can score inside from the mid-range, he can defend inside and outside, he can rebound. I think this is a no-brainer pick. His physicals don't wow you completely, but they're very solid. 76 speed, 86 acceleration, and 82 vertical according to our scouts. So no one else available really caught my eye. Zach Edey's still available, but we already got our center. Hunter Salas, Johan Traore. We're going with Mark Mitchell. We've scouted him to be a 71 overall. That's not bad at pick number 49. So we emphasize the front court in this draft, taking a center and a power forward with our two picks. And then look at this. I really like this Mr. Irrelevant. 7'5" Jamarion Sharp, one of the tallest players in college basketball. The Hornets take a chance on him with pick number 60. And with that, the draft is over, and now it's time to look at the ratings. Wow, we got a 76 overall at number 29. Higher rated than the 5 players taken ahead of him. What a pick. Well above Sarr and Ware. Let's take a look at the potentials, though. So, indeed, Donovan Clingan has a B potential. But keep in mind, those numbers aren't the end-all, be-all. We have the boom-bust system now in 2K, where players can make unpredictable jumps or drops in overall rating. Kel'el Ware's 3 overall under Clingan, but he has the same potential at B. And then so does Baba Miller, who was taken with the second pick in the second round by the Orlando Magic. He comes out to be a 73 overall, so a couple notches worse than what we scouted him out to be. And then, wow, Alex Sarr thought he was going to have an A- or even better potential, but it's only a B. So it honestly looks like we made the right choice, staying at 29, taking Clingan. Looks like he has the best floor and an equal ceiling to the rest. Ooh, Mark Mitchell has a higher potential than all of them, with a B+. And indeed, he's a 71 overall, but I'm really happy with who we got at number 49. Matas Buzelis, the number 1 pick, is a 78 overall with a B potential. Really excited to see how he develops alongside Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and company. Isaiah Collier ties him at 78 for the highest rated rookie. Also has a B+ potential. And also tying them at 78 is Justin Edwards of the Utah Jazz. And then rounding out the 78 overall rookies is Ron Holland, but he only has a B- potential. The Toronto Raptors might have found a gem in Judah Mintz, A potential, 76 overall. What a steal at number 17. He could be the starting point guard for the Raptors for a long, long time. I didn't picture this, but actually a spreadsheet scenario increased his potential to A+. Wow, so if his development stays on track, he could be like a top 5 player in this league in the future. And I'm really excited to see how Cody Williams works with the new look Miami Heat, having traded away Jimmy Butler. He could be the franchise cornerstone with an A- potential. That concludes the 2024 draft. It's always fun to see how these teams are changing in the offseason in these franchises. We signed Donovan Clingan and Mark Mitchell to rookie deals. Now in the contract option period, and Drew Holiday has officially accepted his $39 million player option. that doesn't come as a surprise to me, as that's quite a bit of money. Hard to pass that up. And then Torrey Craig also accepted his player option. And of course, Dalen Terry is a favorite of mine, and I'm going to accept his 2-year team option. And also accepting their options are Kawhi, Paul George, and LeBron James. So we won't see LeBron playing with his son in Miami, but we will see them playing against each other, which will be equally exciting. Now, qualifying offers. Obviously, we're going to offer one to Patrick Williams to make him a restricted free agent. I offered one to Adama Sanogo, and I don't think he has that much upside, but I do like the story of having him and Klingon team up again. And I didn't picture this, but I did offer one to Marko Simonovic. Well, it's time for the moment of truth. We are now at free agency, and you've heard me explain my reasoning before. We just lost to a team that got swept by the eventual champions. That is really concerning to me. We're strapped for cash. We're getting older. I have made the decision to blow this team up and start from the ground up. I think that really gives me a lot of freedom and allows me to advance this series the way I want to, instead of being stuck to the players that I came into the series with. Keeping this team together would give us one of the highest payrolls in the league, and I'm not sure we'd have the talent to justify that. And furthermore, giving these players we already have new deals wouldn't allow us to go get more players to fix the weaknesses that we have. And the Cavs series definitely showed that we have weaknesses. With that being said, we will be letting DeMar DeRozan hit free agency, and we will not be attempting to re-sign him. And I have hit the trade market to make some moves to turn this roster upside down and hopefully set it up for the future. The first one to go is Nikola Vucevic. We have sent him to the Memphis Grizzlies for Brandon Clark, John Conchar, and a 2028 first rounder. After getting swept in the finals by the Celtics, the Grizzlies decided they needed some extra firepower, and they get just that in a center who can score from all 3 levels of the floor. Brandon Clark was a good energy guy, but to win the finals, you need more than just energy. You need floor spacing, and Vucevic can provide that a little bit. I guess they're hoping for his three-point percentage to improve from this year. Either way, they'll definitely benefit from his post scoring, and they already have Steven Adams, who's a solid starting center, not really much of an offensive player other than a screener. So they'll be able to choose between those two who they want to start at center. We didn't get a huge return for Vucevic. Clark is a 25 or so year old small ball center. Not going to be a superstar or anything, but I really like his game. I think he has a really versatile skill set, and he's not paid too much. I think on a team that has good shooting, I'd rather play him at the power forward position, just because of how important size is in the rebounding battle in 2K. But still, we get Clark, we get Conchar, who's really just a salary throw-in. And not too many teams were willing to give a first-round pick for Vucevic, but I was able to convince the Grizzlies to give a 28 first-rounder. Nothing crazy, but that alongside Brandon Clark is a pretty good haul in my book. The Drew Holiday experiment resulted in a lot of success, but no championship. And after he accepted his player option, we are now going to allow him to seek a championship elsewhere. We're trading him to the team we beat in the first round, the Orlando Magic. And in return for him and Torrey Craig, we receive Jet Howard, the sophomore wing out of Michigan, along with 2 first-round picks. After making a run to the playoffs and taking us to 6 games, the Magic have decided it's time to take this team seriously and try to go get a championship. They have a wealth of young talent that includes Jet Howard, who really didn't play much last season, but they can't keep all these young guys, especially because a lot of them aren't even getting playing time right now. Eventually, these guys are going to need to get paid, or they're going to ask out for a better opportunity. Jet Howard's going to get that with the Chicago Bulls. And the Magic are going to get an all-defensive, all-star caliber guard that might be just what they need. Obviously, the Magic are a defensive-minded team. Their defense certainly gave us fits at times in the series. Drew Holiday gives them more consistent guard play, which is something they needed, and they don't have to sacrifice their defensive identity. They also have the cap space to take on a guy who's paid $39 million. So yeah, I really like this trade for the Magic, and I like this trade for us too. 2 first-round picks is pretty impressive, especially considering that we only needed 1 first-rounder to acquire him. He definitely wasn't cheap, as we gave up a proven talent in Lonzo Ball, as well as our recent draft pick Julian Phillips, Alex Caruso, and then another second-rounder along with that first-round pick. But it's nice that even though we gave up a lot to get him, we're able to get some of it back by trading him away, and actually gain a first-round pick in the process. So it definitely worked in our favor that he accepted that gigantic player option. As far as Jet Howard goes, he's unproven, but I am more than happy to take a chance on him. He hasn't proved himself as a defender, a playmaker, or really anything other than a shot maker, but he was really good at that in college. He has a mid-range game and a three-point game, shoots a lot of threes, and he struggled on defense, but I do think he has the tools to improve in that aspect as well as his playmaking. But ultimately, this team needs all the shooting it can get, and Jet Howard can hopefully provide that. What do we do about Zach LaVine? 2 years left on his contract, $90 million left to pay. I was disappointed in his trade market, considering he scored more points per game than any other player in the playoffs. I really thought there would be more interest for him, but at the end of the day, he's a 29-year-old, $40 million a year, 83 overall shooting guard, which I think a lot of teams are really starting to devalue the shooting guard position in the NBA. I mean, the narrative around LaVine is that he's one-dimensional, he can't defend, he can't pass. But I mean, yeah, he can't defend, but I think he can pass. I think, at least in 2K, my experience playing with him, he's been a great playmaker. So that definitely begs the question, should we just keep LaVine after trading away everyone else? I think he would be nice to have as a primary scorer. I think that would aid the development of our other players, as we really don't have any that are proven to be capable of being a primary scorer for a team. I thought about this for a long time, and ultimately, I decided that if I can get a good return for Zach LaVine, I'll trade him. And to me, a good return is 2 first-round picks. If I truly can't find anything, then we'll just keep him on the roster, and maybe we'll see if we can get a better return from him during the trade deadline, or maybe even during next offseason. This trade would have been nice, but it did not work. The Jazz were not willing to take him for Keontae George and 2 first-rounders. I really would have liked having Keontae George, as I think he has the potential to replace LaVine as a primary scorer. I really started to lose confidence when this didn't even work. This didn't even fit my requirement of 2 first-round picks. Instead, it had 2 young players in Trey Jones and Sidi Sissoko from the Spurs, and still they didn't accept. If I were the Spurs, I would try to surround Wemby with as much talent as possible, but I guess they had other plans. At this point, I was almost at my wit's end and about ready to stop looking for a trade that just was not happening. But finally, I found a taker. After an embarrassing collapse that saw them lose in the play-in tournament, the 76ers decided they need to bring in another All-Star. That's right, Zach LaVine is a Philadelphia 76er, teaming up with Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. This one has been talked about in real life for quite some time, and the 76ers pulled the trigger here. When they got locked down by the Magic and the Pacers in the play-in, it became apparent that Embiid can't do this all by himself. Zach LaVine obviously provides an extra scoring punch and a backup plan when Embiid isn't on his game. He also forms an uber-athletic backcourt with Tyrese Maxey, who hasn't ascended to the levels of dominance he has in real life, but this pairing is definitely going to be dangerous. They also drafted Stephon Castle out of UConn in the draft, so this team has some exciting guard play to surround Joel Embiid now. Was this trade worth it for us? Honestly, I don't know. I kind of just pulled the trigger as soon as I saw 2 first-round picks. Paul Reed is not really going to move the needle for us, as we just drafted Klingon, traded for Clark, and Reed's offensive game is pretty much non-existent, so it's going to be a little bit tough for him to see the floor, save from injury situations. But ultimately, there was no one else I could really get unless you wanted to try to make this a 3-team trade. Reed was literally the only player the Sixers had under contract for next season other than Joel Embiid. Even Tyrese Maxey is a restricted free agent, even though they're probably going to keep him. So literally, Paul Reed was the only guy I could get. But ultimately, I just wanted to do right by Zach LaVine. I think it would make sense for him to want to trade with the team moving into a rebuild. LaVine's getting into that point in his career at 29 years old where he needs to give himself a real shot at a championship. His teams haven't been successful historically, and last year's Bulls were the most successful team he's ever been a part of. So the Sixers will give him a chance to continue that. Another thing that's not exactly ideal is that both of those picks are in 2028, which gives us 5 first-round picks in 2028. We have our own, the 76ers, the Clippers, the Grizzlies, and the Magic. None of these are protected in any way. It definitely would have been nice to get one 2025 pick. We have the Blazers pick in 25, which, after doing some research, should be lottery protected, but it's not. I mean, I'll take it. You'll also notice that we don't have our own 2025 first rounder, which isn't ideal considering we're starting a rebuild. However, I've also done some research on that and found we owe it to the Spurs and it's top 10 protected. So as long as we're in the 10 worst teams in the league, we'll have it. Also, the reason we owe that pick to San Antonio is because of when we traded for DeMar DeRozan years ago. Well, not me, but the real Bulls. So if we don't convey that pick in 2025 to the Spurs, aka if we finish as a bottom 10 team in the league, then we will have 2 first-round picks in 2025, ours and the Portland Trail Blazers. Then we'll have to give the Spurs our unprotected 2026 first-round pick. And if that ends up happening, we'll still have the Magic's pick that we just got in exchange for Drew Holiday. Then in 2027, we just have our own pick. And then in 2028, we have those 5. At the end of the day, it's just easier to trade for picks super far into the future. I mean, the game doesn't value them as much. And also, since you can't really predict whether these teams are going to be good or bad 5 years from now or 4 years from now, there's a chance that some of these picks could be really, really good. I find it kind of fun to trade for a first-round pick from a team that's currently good, but you don't expect to be good for very much longer. Case in point, the Clippers. They're pretty old. Their 2 best players are 33, 34, and I think they're probably not going to be a great team by 2028. So that pick could end up being one of the top picks in the draft. But obviously, with us not being a great team next year probably, it is annoying to just not have that many immediate draft picks. I'm hoping that maybe we can use that capital from 2028 to maybe trade up or trade into some of these earlier drafts. The most annoying thing is that 2K doesn't allow you to trade for picks beyond 4 years in the future. I mean, in the real NBA, you see teams trading for picks like 8 years down the line. I don't see why we shouldn't be able to do that in 2K. But anyway, the reality is we got 5 first-round picks in return for our 3 best players, plus Jet Howard and Brandon Clark. I say that's not so bad at all. Anyway, with that lengthy draft pick discussion out of the way, it's now time for free agency and a chance for us to fill out our new roster. DeMar DeRozan is the best free agent available, and overall this is a pretty weak class. I mean, Nick Claxton, the 3rd best player, Buddy Hield. I accidentally entered the first day of the moratorium while still controlling all 30 teams, so there are 0 offers. I'm not going to take advantage of that. I'm just going to skip this day without offering any contracts as the Bulls. What I am going to do is renounce DeMar DeRozan. I do not plan on re-signing him after trading away everyone else. I don't plan on bringing back Andre Drummond either. Markieff Morris is going to go. I will, however, be cap holding Patrick Williams because I do plan on re-signing him. Is he a young superstar? No, he's not. Is he going to pan out and be a great player? I don't know. But at the end of the day, we have his bird rights and we also have the ability to match other teams' offers. We'll see if any team offers him in the moratorium, and as long as it's not super outrageous, I'll probably match it. Now we can finally start looking at offering players, and the first one I want to look at is Gary Trent Jr. He's a good 3-and-D shooting guard, not asking for too much money. I think he could be a great replacement for Zach LaVine, so we're going to give him a 1-and-1 deal with a team option. I love doing those deals because it allows me to get out of the contract if I want to, but also keep him for another year if I really like what he does for the team. Jaden McDaniels is another target of mine. I don't think he's as good as he is in real life in this game. He didn't have a great season, shot under 40%, but this is still a 6'9" wing who can defend extremely well. He can also play the 4 if needed, maybe even a small ball 5. And with him being only 23 years old, I think his offensive game has a chance to develop. We'll see if the Wolves decide to match this 4-year deal I'm giving him. I think he'll be well worth $11 million a year. You can never have too much floor spacing, and Buddy Hield definitely provides that. Also, will provide a veteran presence in the locker room for a very young team. At 31 years old, has 10 badges, so has some player mentorship potential. I offered him 1 year, $7 million, which is the exact same amount of interest as the 3-year deal the Sixers offered him. So we'll see which one he chooses. Looks like he chose us, and so did McDaniels and Gary Trent. Trent and Hield are unrestricted, but McDaniels is restricted, so we'll have to see if the Wolves decide to match that deal. I think they should, but we'll see. After an underwhelming year, they might decide that he's not worth it, and we do sign him. We don't get the notification saying the Wolves matched it, so Gary Trent, Jaden McDaniels, and Buddy Hield, the 3 newest members of the Chicago Bulls. We also need a point guard, and Cole Anthony caught my eye immediately. 24 years old, high potential, and he looked really solid in the series that we played against the Magic. I like him for that alone. I do think he hasn't really carved out his identity as a player yet, not really great at any one thing, but I think with his potential, he is the best option at point guard for us. I offered him about $13 million per year over 3 years. We'll see if the Magic decide to match it. He is restricted. If we don't get Cole Anthony, I offered who I believe to be the second best option at point guard for us, and that is Emmanuel Quickley. Just such a fun, shifty guard. Definitely has Darius Garland potential in my book, but definitely has a long ways to go there in terms of consistency. It's now the 3rd day of the moratorium, and Patrick Williams still has no offers outside of the qualifying offer. So if this extends into the free agency period, I'll definitely look at just re-signing him myself. Alec Burks was giving us hell in that Cavs series, so I decided to just offer him a minimum and give him a chance to join us just so we don't have to go up against him anymore. This is awesome. The front runner to sign DeMar DeRozan is none other than the team that drafted him, the Toronto Raptors. How cool would that be to see a reunion? And again, everyone accepts. Anthony, Quickly, and Burks all on board. Both Anthony and Quickly are restricted though. Ultimately, Anthony was my first choice, and we only need one of those two, so I chose Anthony. I accepted his contract, declined Quickly's, and the Magic did not match the deal. So Cole Anthony is our newest point guard. Looking at signings around the league, DeMar DeRozan has officially returned to the Toronto Raptors on 3 years for $116 million. James Harden gets a big payday to stay with the Clippers. Klay Thompson remains with the Warriors. Outside of that, it's a pretty sad class. Jonas Valanciunas going to the Wizards. The Nets signed Russell Westbrook. I have no idea why they would want him. Christian Wood also signs with the Wizards, so they signed two of the top big men in this free agency class. I don't know what they're doing considering they have Daniel Gafford. I might have to step in and just go trade Gafford, considering he got traded in real life. I'm now ready to give Patrick Williams an offer. I'm giving him a heavily backloaded 4-year deal with his bird rights that'll give him a maximum of 18.29 in year 4. I think he'll accept this pretty easily. Our roster is pretty much all the way filled out by now, and just to round out our big man depth, I am bringing back Marko Simonovic. Patrick Williams accepts his contract offer, so he remains with us for the next 4 years, and Marko Simonovic accepts his minimum deal. Well, here's our completed new roster, and brace yourself, this is going to be a long season. Cole Anthony is our highest rated player at 79. We're definitely going to be a bad team, but hopefully we can at least be fun. I think with this roster, it's pretty safe to say that we'll keep our pick in the next draft that we owe to San Antonio if it's outside the top 10. In other news, the Lakers are salary dumping Gabe Vincent to the Wizards. And again, I have no idea how the Bucks made that Jimmy Butler trade work because those salaries did not match. Anyway, they're so ridiculously over the cap that I stepped in and traded Chris Middleton away. I still think they're going to be a really good team without Chris Middleton, and I sent him to the Spurs, which I think is a really interesting destination for him, as Wemby now has a pretty solid sidekick. The Spurs have a boatload of draft capital, and they give the Hawks pick to get Middleton. Pretty crazy that even after dumping a $30 million contract in Middleton, the Bucks are still going to be about $70 million over the cap. They better hope Jimmy Butler brings them a championship. Also, Alex Caruso is going to be on the move again, going to the Pistons for Marcus Sasser. This move was made by the Magic so they could re-sign Jonathan Isaac. And lastly, since the Wizards signed 2 centers in free agency, they'll be trading Daniel Gafford to the Mavericks as they did in real life. They'll be receiving Grant Williams and a top 10 protected pick. I took out Rashawn Holmes. He wasn't actually in this deal. I have player progression kind of nerfed in this sim, so not too much of note here for the player progression. Gary Trent improved to a 79. Buddy Hield dropped. Patrick Williams improved to a 77. And Ayo Dosunmu also improved slightly. It's going to be interesting to see how Kobe White progresses after that Achilles injury. His physicals obviously go down, but it is good to see his shooting stats go up. Hopefully that bodes well for his development. Take a look at this Raptors roster though, they could be scary. Everyone in their rotation either stayed the same or improved. DeMar DeRozan up to an 89, Siakam up to an 86, Barnes to an 82. I was definitely scratching my head when Masai Ujiri decided to extend Siakam and Anunoby instead of trading them away, but I think I might see the vision now. It's finally time for the Summer League, as we get to see the debuts of some of these rookies. I accidentally simulated through the entire regular season stage of the Summer League. So unfortunately, I didn't get to play the true debut of Donovan Clingan. But as you can see here, in his first game, he went 4 of 8 from the field for 9 points, 9 rebounds, a steal, and a block. Nothing to celebrate, but nothing to complain about either. And then here he has 8 points and 10 rebounds, so a similar stat line, but 4 of 5 from the field. Meanwhile, Mark Mitchell goes 4 of 6 for 8.7 boards and 3 blocks. And then here against the Wizards, Jet Howard was the star with 28 points and 3 blocks of his own. I wanted to hop into the first game of the tournament stage. And it's a rematch with the Bucks, who we played in the first game of the Summer League season. Clingan versus Moses Brown at center court. Clingan wins and we're underway. Here's Jet Howard on the right wing. Elbow pull-up shot is good. That mid-range game is really smooth and it reminds me of DeMar DeRozan. Now City Sissoko pulls up and Clingan chases down the rebound. Nice hustle. Now AJ Green with it. Pass is stolen by Clingan. Already making an impact on defense and on the boards. Howard shoots, falling away, and it's good again. He can hit those tough shots. Mark Mitchell open from the mid-range, rattles out, rebounded by Clingan, and it's blocked by Brown. 2 giants going at it in the paint. Dalen Terry gets AJ Green off his feet, pulls up, and drains the close shot. Bulls up 7-4 here in the first. Mitchell with the block. The young guys are playing hard. Reese Beekman driving, and Clingan sends it away. He's going to block a lot of shots in this series. Howard for 3, good. 10-4 Chicago. Terry steals it. Breakaway, slams it with 2 hands. Boy, is it nice to get back out on the court now. Clingan goes up strong for the finish. Man, a 7'2" guy getting up that high is impossible to block. His hand was well above the rim there. Beauchamp had no chance. He's going to be fun to use. I like my athletic centers, and he's got the passing chops as well. Nice pass to the cutter. Can't hit the contested layup there. But the Bulls are up 29-17. Howard isolating on the right side. Gets around his defender. Drawing the foul. That was an explosive leap to the basket. Mitchell forces his man out of bounds. Nice play. Howard another 3. No good on that one. Now he's trying to get another pull-up. Doesn't find it. Clingan posting up Brown. Goes up for the wild shot, and it's off. Clingan's a big guy, but he's not exactly the strongest. Terry ISO. Push shot is good off the glass. Chris Livingston goes up, and Clingan put his hands up to contest it. He doesn't even have to jump to bother those shots. 35-24. Clingan drives left. Spins back. Hits it off the glass. Oh, what a move from the 7'2" big man. Now he's being guarded by Adem Bona, another rookie. And he can't hit it from point-blank range. Cross-court pass to Dalen Terry. He gives it back to Clingan. He misses another layup. Might not be the most efficient finisher as a rookie. Hopefully we can develop that, but obviously the frame is there. Clingan on the pick and roll, goes up and finishes over Bona. 9 points now for Clingan. Dalen Terry up top, pick and roll with Clingan. Goes up strong, draws a foul. Normally these types of players aren't great at free throws, but he hits both of them calmly. It'll be a big plus if he shoots well from the line. Terry well defended. Now Bona stifled out of bounds by Clingan. He's going to be a game wrecker on defense. We ended up losing this game, but Dalen Terry led us with 15 points. Jet Howard wasn't the most efficient, 3 of 11, 1 of 5 from 3. Donovan Clingan, 4 of 14, not very efficient either. Mark Mitchell had 5 points and 4 boards, with 4 blocks. The best player around the Summer League is none other than the number 1 pick, Matas Buzelis, who averaged 21 points in 5 games, 49% from the floor, 47 from 3. That is really promising stuff. So the Bulls were eliminated in the first round of the tournament, and simulating to the end, the Utah Jazz are champions. Why the Defensive Player of the Year is playing in the Summer League, I have no idea, but Walker Kessler dominates his way to a Summer League title. AJ Johnson also had a good game in the final. It's now time for training camp, which is something that I do with the ATD spreadsheet that I'm using, with the random events. So in the training camp stage, we just have random events that can determine whether players improve or decline. Jordan Clarkson had a surprise decline in shooting skills, so his mid-range and three-point shot are going to decrease by 5. Chris Dunn looks like an underrated free agent signing for the Phoenix Suns, and he receives a point guard breakout scenario where his ball handling and passing increase by 5. Blazers rookie guard Tyrese Proctor has a shooting breakout. He looked really good in training camp, and his mid-range and three-pointer are going to increase by 5. D'Angelo Russell showed up to training camp out of shape. He must have been in his feelings after choking away that Game 7 against the Clippers. So all of his athleticism stats are going to decrease by 5. The new season is just around the corner, and the last thing we're going to do is release Alec Burks. We currently have 16 players on the roster, which is one too many. I have a tendency to do that, sign too many players in free agency and have to release one. I would definitely rather release John Conchar if I had the choice, because Burks is better than him, but Conchar is paid about $6 million per year for multiple years, and releasing him would be eating up a lot of dead money. And at long last, the 2024-2025 season is here. We open the season at home against the Atlanta Hawks, before going on the road against the Knicks, Cavs, and Magic. Our team chemistry is all the way down at 7, so these players are all very new to each other. Probably going to be quite a bit of growing pains. And we are dead last in the power rankings, a stark difference from last year, where we ranked near the top nearly all year long. Our overall is all the way down to 84 with an 83 offense, 84 defense. I've set our starting rotation going into the new season. Cole Anthony's going to be our starting point guard, Gary Trent at the shooting guard, and then our front court will be Jaden McDaniels, Patrick Williams, and the rookie Donovan Clingan is going to start on day 1. Yes, he might benefit from acclimating a little bit slower on the bench, but I think with his defensive ability that he's already walking into the NBA with, that's something I want in the starting 5. If he struggles, I'll definitely bench him for Brandon Clark, but I mean, that's a big height difference. Clingan is 7'2", Clark is 6'8". I like the 7'2" guy. And Buddy Hield's moved back and forth between the starters and the bench his whole career. He's going to start the season as our 6th man. Alright, off-season number 1 is in the books. There were a lot of big changes made to the team. I want to say that a new era is beginning in Chicago, but that might be a bit of a stretch. This team is not going to be very good next season, and it probably won't be very good until we get a few more top draft picks. So, unless we outperform everyone's expectations, this is probably going to be a much faster season, episode-wise, than Season 1. Season 1, I really focused on immersion and storytelling, which was really fun for me, but it also took forever, especially since I decided to play all the playoff games. As much as I'd like to be working on these videos all the time, I haven't been able to. I'm just a pretty busy person outside of this YouTube channel, and it resulted in season number 1 taking multiple months. I really don't want that to happen again. At least not until we are a contending team again. But we'll see how this next season goes. I'm still really excited for it, even though I don't have the highest of expectations. Anyway, thank you for making it through this long off season. I really appreciate you guys who have stuck around, and it's really cool to see my channel continue to grow. I can't wait to move this series forward and bring you guys Season 2 and beyond. We'll see the debut of Donovan Clingan and the rest of the Bulls squad in episode number 20, coming out soon. If you like what you see, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, or recommend me to a friend. I would really appreciate that. I'll see you guys in the next one, and have a great rest of your day.